You won't believe the kind of diplomatic rollercoaster South Africa is riding right now. The ANC is pushing the government to keep diplomatic ties with the United States strong, even after the dramatic expulsion of South Africa's ambassador to the U.S., Ebrahim Rasool. That's right, our top diplomat was sent packing, and now the ruling party is saying, let's keep talking.
Comrade Rasool is back in South Africa. Comrade Rasool was an ambassador in the United States of America. We have received reports of the work that he had actually done. And it was an unfortunate situation what has occurred, and I think where we are now is to move forward. We have to move forward. Government processes have actually been utilized where he was called to come and account, and we are satisfied as the ANC that it is time for us to move forward, and it is time for us to work much more harder and united to find a better mechanism of again protecting and representing the South Africa that we want and the South Africa that we are.
Now, this raises a lot of questions. Should South Africa continue diplomatic engagements with a country that just booted our ambassador? Is this a sign of a strained relationship, or just politics as usual? And most importantly, why was Rasool expelled in the first place? Oh, trust me, we're diving deep into this one today. Let's start with the man at the center of it all, Ebrahim Rasool. He's not just any diplomat, he's been a key figure in South African politics for years. He was once the premier of the Western Cape, and later, he served as South Africa's ambassador to the U.S. But apparently, something went down that made Washington decide, you know what? Pack your bags, buddy. And that's where the drama begins. Now, the official reason behind Rasool's expulsion is still a bit murky. Some sources suggest it had to do with his public criticism of U.S. policies, particularly regarding Africa. Others claim it was linked to diplomatic tensions over South Africa's stance on global conflicts. But whatever the reason, the ANC is making it clear, they don't want a full-blown diplomatic fallout. This brings us to the big question, why is the ANC urging continued engagement? Well, let's break it down. South Africa and the United States have a long and complicated relationship. On one hand, they're major trade partners, with billions of rands in trade flowing between the two countries every year. On the other hand, South Africa has been taking a more independent stance on global issues, which hasn't always sat well with Washington. For example, let's talk about foreign policy. South Africa has been vocal about its position on global conflicts, sometimes aligning itself with countries that the U.S. isn't exactly friendly with. This has led to some friction, and Rasool, as ambassador, was caught right in the middle of it. So, was his expulsion a way for the U.S. to send a message? It sure seems like it. But here's where things get interesting. Despite the tension, the ANC isn't backing down. Instead, they're saying, we need to keep talking. Why? Because South Africa has strategic interests that can't be ignored. We're talking about trade, investment, and political influence on the global stage. The U.S. remains one of South Africa's largest trading partners, and cutting ties would be a major economic risk. At the same time, the ANC is also playing a long game. They know that politics is unpredictable, and today's enemies can be tomorrow's allies. By maintaining dialogue, they're keeping the door open for future cooperation, whether it's on trade, security, or diplomatic affairs. But let's be real, this isn't just about politics. There's also a personal element here. Rasool's expulsion isn't just a bureaucratic decision, it's a statement. And how South Africa responds will set the tone for future diplomatic relations. If the government takes a hard stance, we could see increased tensions with the U.S. But if they follow the ANC's advice and keep diplomatic channels open, there's a chance to smooth things over. So, what does this mean for South Africa? Well, first off, it highlights the importance of diplomacy in a world where political alliances are constantly shifting. It also raises questions about South Africa's foreign policy direction. Will the country continue to assert its independence, even if it means clashing with global superpowers? Or will it take a more cautious approach to avoid further conflict? One thing is certain, this situation is far from over. The ANC's push for continued engagement suggests that they see value in keeping the relationship with the U.S. intact. But at the same time, there's a lot of frustration over how Rasool's expulsion was handled. And let's be honest, this isn't the first time South Africa and the US have butted heads. Remember when South Africa refused to be bullied into taking sides on international conflicts? Or when the country pushed back against US policies that didn't align with its interests? Yeah, this is just another chapter in that ongoing saga. And let's not forget, South Africa has options. While the US is an important partner, South Africa has been strengthening ties with other global players, including China, Russia, and the European Union. So, will the ANC's call for diplomacy be enough to mend fences? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger diplomatic showdown? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, South Africa isn't about to be strong-armed into submission. And if history has taught us anything, it's that this country knows how to stand its ground. What do you think? Should South Africa continue engaging with the US despite Rasool's expulsion? Or is it time to take a tougher stance? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments.